welcome to the Red Wagon Estate Planning and Elder Law Show, hosted by me, yours truly, Jeffrey Bellomo, where we discuss all things estate planning and elder law, and well, hey, anything else we want to talk about. And today is probably going to fall a little bit under the "and hey, anything else we want to talk about" category. I am joined by a dear friend of mine, Mark Sussman. Mark is with Strategic Business Coach. Oh man, I did it again, didn't I, Mark? Strategic Business Group. And we have known each other here for a little while, and I just have been very excited to have him on the podcast today. So, Mark, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you? I'm excited to have this conversation.
Yeah, we should have a lot of fun. Boy, you think Strategic Business Group would not be that hard to get out of your mouth, but man, I guess for me it was. So, before we begin into the podcast, I want to just remind my listeners, you should not take what you hear on this show or any other show for that matter to constitute legal advice. If you're looking for legal advice about a certain situation, please contact an attorney licensed in the state that you live in that specializes or practices mostly in the area that you are looking for advice in, and they will be able to give you the advice that you need and to give you legal advice. This show is for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only. And if you happen to be in Pennsylvania and you're looking for estate planning or elder law advice, we would love to assist you at Bellomo & Associates. You can find us at www.bellomoassociates.com or 717-845-5390. We offer free educational workshops on a weekly basis in both pre-planning as well as crisis planning, along with special needs planning, life care planning, and administration for both trusts and probate. So if you're looking for education, we offer free educational workshops. We would love to assist you. Well, now on to the podcast. So, Mark, tell us a little bit about yourself, my friend.
Well, and actually, I'd like to say we can keep it on topic for estate planning.
Oh,
yes.
nice.
I am a leadership coach, and I run a peer advisory group for CEOs and owners called the Small Business Forum. But I started and still am a family business advisor because I came out of my own family's business, and one of the loneliest places in the world can be a partner in a family-owned business. Yeah. So that's how I got started in all of this.
Wow. And so what would you tell somebody that you do sort of on a regular basis as part of what you're doing now?
Find somebody who can listen to you and who can give you the feedback you need and the perspective you need, but don't sit there all by yourself thinking there's no one out there.
Wow. So primarily business owners, I believe, right? Looking for business owners.
Business owners.
With an open mind, open to coaching, open to ideas, open to pushback, maybe?
I always say that when people ask me, what are you looking for in a business owner? I said, growth-minded. Not in industry? No, growth-minded. And growth-minded means that they want to grow their business, but they understand that they have to grow themselves first.
Oh, very nice. Tell us a little bit about the forum. I remember when you told me about it, I was so intrigued by that.
The Small Business Forum is... it's kind of funny how it started. I was listening to a client and just heard the frustration in his voice. And I said, you don't have anybody to talk to except for me. He said, that's right.
Oh.
So I said, if I started a group of business owners with the sole purpose of, when they're in there, the sole purpose is to help each other make better decisions about their business and themselves, would you join? The guy never answered any question I asked quickly except for that one. So that's what it is. It's a place where business owners are devoted to each other and help each other grow, both their business and themselves. And oh, by the way, they become better leaders as a result.
That's awesome. And do you have open groups that people could still join at this time, or how does that work?
As a matter of fact, I do. I actually have an event where people could come and test out the group on January 9th. I'm inviting people to this group. There's no fee, no obligation, and they can see what it's like and see whether or not it works for them and whether they work for the group.
Wow. And do you also do one-on-one coaching in addition to the forum, or?
Yes, I do.
I thought so.
It's about 50-50.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
And actually, the forum offers one-on-one coaching too.
Oh, wow. Okay. So is that something that you join outside of the forum then as well, or?
Well, the forum itself includes the group meeting once a month and coaching once a month. And then outside of the forum, I have individual business clients.
And you sort of mentioned this, so you don't practice area industry doesn't matter at all. Growth minded is really what you're looking for. What they do specifically does not matter one bit.
Exactly. And thanks to
Okay.
technology like this, I'm looking for my first client in Singapore.
Oh, really? Wow. Very nice. I hope you get that first client in Singapore. That'd be pretty neat.
This is why I'm on the podcast. You promised me that this would get out to Singapore.
Oh, man. Oh, boy. Well, if I have any friends in Singapore, please give Mark a call. That would be pretty cool to come through on that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That would be awesome. And so you came from your family background. You're giving a place for business owners to have a lending ear, but also someone to kind of be pushing, maybe ask important questions. How does most of your business come to you?
Through referrals,
Okay.
referrals from attorneys, financial planners, also referrals from current clients, and I do a lot of networking. And
Yes.
a lot of people find networking a chore. One of my favorite hobbies is talking to business owners, which is incredibly boring, and my wife thinks it's very boring too.
Yeah, but definitely not you, man. You're very.
I enjoy it. You know what? I just said it was boring. It is not boring for me. I really enjoy talking to business owners. I love talking. I love hearing people's stories and see what they're going through, what they're doing.
Yeah, I remember after we were introduced from a friend of both of ours, Mark. I remember a different Mark, of course, but
Yes.
I remember just being within, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes of the conversation with you, like, oh man, I like this guy. Like, it was just fun and easy. And I always tell people, always surround yourself with people that it's fun and easy to be around and to talk to, because if it's not fun and easy, I don't care if it's your neighbor, if it's your friend, if it's your coach, it's work. That's the last thing you want, is to make it feel like work every day. It needs to just come easy and naturally. And I can definitely say, in talking to you, the networking part does come easy, but it makes it easy for the other person as well to engage in the conversation, which is kind of cool. So that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So, obviously without naming names or breaching any confidentialities, any kind of success stories or anything that you're proud about, or any kind of breakthroughs that you've seen people hit that was kind of, a good moment for you?
Actually, just yesterday I was at a restaurant and I ran, excuse me, I ran into the founder of a company that was one of my first clients. It was a family-owned business, and the situation was she had two sons, one of whom was in the business and one of whom just came back from the business to be in the business. And it's a good thing that knives weren't allowed into this business, because they would have used them on each other.
Oh no.
And so I helped them figure out how to move forward. And it was so great. Yesterday, I saw her and I said, hello. And she said, I got to tell you, the business is growing and they are getting along. And I attribute a lot of it to you. So that
That's
was,
so cool. And that was yesterday.
yeah, that was yesterday. That was so cool.
Wow. That's kind of that's a neat little story.
Yeah.
Any kind of just not great fits? I mean, that's the one thing I've noticed with working with businesses and individuals, is it's not always a fit on both sides. You ever have a situation where you're like, this just isn't going to work for me?
I try to not let that happen.
Nice.
I spend so the first time I do coaching, it's really an introduction for both of us. I sit down with the owners of the companies and I say, so what's your goal? And we have the same conversation we would have in coaching. And through that, they can see how I coach. And equally important, I can see if they fit that growth-minded mold. And I always say at the beginning of it, at the end of this conversation, we'll make a mutual decision as to whether or not this relationship will work.
Nice.
So I try to avoid it. I'm not 100% successful, but I'm pretty darn close.
Yeah. And it sounds like if it's going to not work, you generally can pick up on it pretty quickly. And, you do that first conversation, you both agree at the end, it's not mutually going to work. And you
Absolutely.
probably part friends at that point, right?
I know I can't count how many times I said, this isn't going to work for you right now, or I don't think we're going to work. So yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. That's great. Somebody who's not, so the word coaching, right? I know what that means because I've been in it. How would you describe that for somebody who's never had a coach or never actually been in a coaching conversation? What would that mean to you?
Somebody came up to me, and they were in business, and I said, I'm a coach. And he said, you know what? I had a great football coach. Do you do the same thing? And it is kind of the same thing. If you think about a football coach, they're not only teaching you the basics of the game, but they're also allowing you to have a better perspective on the best way to play and the best way to win. That's what I do.
Wow. And asking questions and sort of getting people to think deeply, I imagine is part of that, right?
People ask me what I do, and I say, oftentimes I say I listen.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a situation with a fellow attorney that I was talking to, and he was asking if I would coach him. And I said, look, I'm not really doing that, and by the end of the conversation, I actually said to him, I said, I don't think you actually are looking for a coach. You're looking for a mentor, because he wanted someone to tell him what to do. And I said to him, I said, here's the problem. Just because my journey led me to a certain place doesn't mean that your journey will lead you to the same place. And it doesn't matter that we're in the same industry. I remember talking to you a little bit ago, and that was one of the things. I actually liked the idea that we weren't in the same industry or that you didn't know anything about my business, because I think too often when you work with somebody who is in the same industry, the coachee, the person who's being coached, wants to just be told what to do. And that's not coaching. Like, my journey is not the same as yours. And what I've done, and just because it worked for me doesn't mean it would work for you. But I think people, they want the easy way out and they want the answers. And that's not coaching. Coaching isn't me to tell you what to do. It's for you to get there on your own.
Yeah, that's absolutely. I often say I don't have an original idea in my head, which isn't true, but I listen to what my clients are saying and doing, and I let them see it from a different perspective so that they can build, so that we both can build on it. And you
Yeah.
mentioned about the different industries. So the small business forum, the peer group, is non-competitive.
Right.
How could a plumber possibly help a lawyer? But I got to tell you, it is so much fun to see how. And the benefit is, if a plumber is listening to the problems a lawyer is going through, the plumber will come up with ideas that the lawyer, or no offense to you, no other lawyer would have thought of, because you know what? He comes at it from a different vantage point, which is, I think, what
Completely.
you exactly said.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. And I think that if I happen to be a lawyer and I happen to be in a conversation with you, it's too easy for you to think that I should just tell you what I think. And that just doesn't matter. It really has no relevance to what you should do in your life or where you are in your perspective. And so that's great. So how long have you been coaching? Like, is it something you've done for a long time? Is it something, I don't know. I never asked that question before.
Yeah, it's funny. I often say I've been training for this my whole life. And by that I mean I was doing market research when I was 17. I continued market research, was doing became a trained moderator, which is how I learned how to listen. And then I went and got my MBA, and that speaks for itself, sort of. And I went into my family-owned business. The best place to learn about business is in your own business. After I sold the business in '07, I started doing a little bit of coaching, and I say that I officially hung out my shingle in 2012. So I guess that would be the point.
Ah, okay. See, I didn't know that. If we did talk about that, I had completely forgotten that. That's the fun of the podcast, is I get to ask questions even if I knew the answer once upon a time, right?
Yep.
That's awesome. Very cool. So 2012 is where you'd say was kind of the actual start of the true profession specifically.
let's call it an official start. Yeah.
All right. Very cool. So is there a limit of how many individual clients you want to work with at one time, or are you trying to, some people like limits, they no, I'll take as many, or how does that work?
Well, I haven't reached it yet. So I couldn't say. I mean, look, I actually have to go to sleep at some point. So
Yeah.
when I reach the point where I feel like I can't even relax before I want to go to bed, there's a problem. But I haven't
Yeah.
reached that yet.
Yeah.
So
You'll know it when you get there.
yeah, yeah. In my group, the group is the great thing about the group is I can get to 8, 10 people, and rather than
Right.
being a limit, it becomes more dynamic and more fun.
Well, and you mentioned earlier, you still get some coaching as well, one-on-one. So the group is certainly still you have to do calls. You still have other stuff you have to do. It isn't just that forum. It isn't just the group meeting. You're still giving individual coaching. So as many people as in that group, you're still having to do that as well.
Right. So once I get to 8 to 10, have me back on, and I'll let you know whether that's my max.
Okay, sure enough. Let's do that. Make sure you reach out to me when you get there, and we'll get you back on.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Sounded like you were going to say something. I didn't want to cut you off, Mark.
I said absolutely.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. All right. Well, very cool. So, growth minded entrepreneurs who are business owners, how would they reach out to you? How would they find you if they were trying to learn more about the forum or learn more about you for coaching?
They can always call me or email me. My phone number is 717-439-6254. My email is mark@strategicbizgroup.com. That's strategic, B-I-Z, group.com. Probably the best way is look me up on LinkedIn. I'm in Mechanicsburg, Mark Sussman, and you can also look up the Strategic Business Forum. Or they can send up the old bat signal. If it's visible in Mechanicsburg, I'll find it.
And is there some information on your site if they're looking to learn more? I imagine some background and some things about what you do, or
Yeah, I'm old school. My website was built in, well, I don't even know when it was built, probably 2012, and I haven't updated it. Really, LinkedIn is it's all updated,
oh, cool.
but my website, strategicbizgroup.com, has got a lot of great information. I was writing blogs, used to love that, would still love it if I had the time, but there's some fun blogs that people have told me they really can relate to. Wow, this speaks to it.
Oh, that's very cool. So now I'm curious: is the name of the company Strategic Biz Group or Strategic Business Group?
Strategic Business Group, but
Okay, good.
that's too expensive of a URL.
Understood. But it's funny because I stumbled at the beginning on the name, and I thought, man, if I stumbled and I had the wrong name, that's even more embarrassing than just stumbling over a name, right? You stumbled over the wrong name. That would have been horrible.
Should we do a poll? Should we do a poll of listeners to see whether I should change my business name to Strategic Biz Group?
You know what? I like that actually. I think it kind of sounds cool personally. Not that I have a vote in any of this, but I kind of like it. I mean, you already have an established business, though. You hate to change it in the middle of the game, you know?
Did I mention I used to do marketing?
No, you did not. Well,
Yeah,
tell us about that.
Well, again, market research. I went and got my MBA in marketing, but really, I'm a stat nerd. I did a lot of statistics in grad school.
Oh, wow.
So my first job out of grad school was I was a data scientist, and my friends were no end of making fun of that. It was like, you're a scientist. How's that possible? But yeah, it's statistics.
That's incredible. Very cool. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners and about what you do or anything about you personally?
Well, personally, getting back to the marketing, I actually taught marketing at Penn State in Elizabethtown.
Nice.
One of my favorite incidents at Penn State was in a class of freshmen in intro to marketing. We were talking about if a client's not working out, what do you do? And I said, fire them. And you should have seen the looks on the faces of the students. but it was like, because they were always told the client's always right. And you know
Oh,
what? Sometimes it just doesn't work.
right.
And it might be the personal chemistry. That's why I do that setup. But the other thing is, I tell business owners to look and see whether or not they're making profit on certain clients, because it sounds like they're spending a lot of time and effort servicing one client, and that to the detriment of how they can service their other clients.
Yeah.
So,
And yeah, not to mention what it does on their personal life as well, right?
yeah.
Everybody tries to separate personal and life and business, but the truth is, man, they are one and the same. They are tied intricately together.
Business owners come to me for one of three reasons. One is they're not able to take vacations and they just want to take vacations.
Oh,
Two is they want to sell their business, and the way to sell the business is to, what I'm sitting here thinking, and I can't remember the third one. But in order to sell their business, you have to, if is the business going to survive if we take you out of it? If we don't take you out of it, you're selling assets for pennies on the dollar. But if
right.
you're building a business that can run on its own, you can take a vacation, and it increases the value.
Well, that's very cool.
The other people come to me is family-owned businesses who are just at each other's throats sometimes, and maybe not even at each throats sometimes. Maybe the businesses get along really well, but they need to figure out what the next step is. I help train the next generation as leaders. It's people. Succession planning is a funny thing, and I'm sorry, I'm now my own moderator on this call.
I love it.
Succession planning is a funny thing. When people think about succession planning, they think about you, the legal aspect of it, but they sometimes forget. They often forget the leadership aspect. Just because Dad was a great leader doesn't mean Joe is a great leader too.
No.
And and sometimes that can be trained, and sometimes there are other options. An outsider. So when you're thinking succession planning, you really need to think, is the next generation ready for it? And are the people who work with you ready for the next generation?
That might be a big one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Awesome. And one more time on the information regarding the forum. I can't remember where that was. Is that
If,
strategic
if,
forum?
if strategic, no, the Small Business Forum. See, you got me doing it.
I
The Small
know.
Business Forum on LinkedIn. If you look up the Small Business Forum on LinkedIn, you'll get to it. Or again, they can reach out to me either through LinkedIn or email me at mark@strategicbizgroup.com.
Awesome. Very cool. Mark, it was a lot of fun today. I always enjoy talking to you. I knew this would go quickly. There was no doubt in my mind. So I'd like to thank my listeners for joining us today on the Red Wagon Estate Planning and Elder Law Show, where we met with my friend Mark Sussman with Strategic Business Group and here in Mechanicsburg, locally in Pennsylvania. I don't know why I'm struggling over that name so much today. So, Mark, thank you for joining us. Thank you to our listeners. I look forward to seeing the listeners. And until next time, we'll see you real soon.